Welcome to the Small Business Rally Point for Monday, the 31st of August, 2020. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. And before I go any further, can I just say thank you? This is so exciting to do this show. We started it out in March, right in the thick of the virus, right when it hit. And this little group of folks has been getting together on Mondays since then. And it's the highlight of my week. So hopefully we're going to have a good time today. And it's made possible by Serendipity Labs and the new Idea Collective for small business owners. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach, and I'm helped out today by a great cast of characters. Jennifer Buchholz, who's the ultimate showrunner and my business BFF. She's making all the stuff happen behind the scenes. Also assisted by Michael Rampolla from Spirity. Those two wonder twins, they make it all go. On the show today, we've got Paul M. Neuberger, the author of The Secrets to Cold Call Success and the star of the Night School event on September 22nd. And we're going to give away a copy of his book. Plus, we're going to have the roundtable conversation. We call it the Rally Point Roundtable. And this one, we're going to need a volunteer. So we're going to need a volunteer. Someone is going to have to volunteer because it's a little bit of a different question. I'll get your brain thinking here. Here it is. A lot of times we talk about what service we provide, but sometimes we miss some of the things that make us unique. So we're going to ask for a volunteer, and then we're going to take input on things that make that person unique that maybe they don't even think about. There are positive blind spots that we all have. And hey, Michael, you should be talking about this more, and I never see you do it. So what are some things that you don't realize or they don't realize that they could talk about in their business marketing that would help them be more effective? But with all of that, let's welcome onto the show the cold call coach himself, Paul M. Neuberger. He's got about 41 different titles: president of the Star Group, founder of the C-Suite for Christ, founder of the Cold Call Coach, founder and CEO of the Young Guns Movement, and the author of The Secrets to Cold Call Success. Whew. Paul, welcome to the call, my friend. How is your Monday so far?
It is doing fairly well, and you didn't have to take a deep breath to say all of that. I'm very impressed, Patrick.
Normally I'm out of breath after I say all that because you have a lot of irons in the fire, but you're changing lives every day, which is great. And the thing that we want to talk about today is this Cold Call Coach program that you've been administering. How long have you had the Cold Call Coach out there for people to improve their sales skills?
Yeah, so the Cold Call Coach was my very first business. I created that while I was still a financial advisor over at Thrivent Financial. I created the company in April of 2015. I went full-time in October of 2015 to meet demand. And since that time, we're now in 127 countries around the globe. We've got clients in all 50 states, and thousands of students are enrolled through Cold Call University. So it's been a real blast. But cold calling is my first love. As you said, I'm involved in a large number of things. I think one of my issues is, if you can even call this an issue, I'm just so passionate about so many things. I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm passionate about leadership. I'm passionate about my faith. I'm passionate to some degree even about insurance. I mean, there's just so many itches that I want to scratch. But my first love was cold calling, and it's a real honor to do this on a daily basis.
Of all the things in sales, why did you pick cold calling? Why that one particular area of sales technique? Yeah,
well, one of my mottos in life, one of my mottos for the companies that I have is really making the impossible possible, because it's only impossible until somebody does it for the first time. And one of the decisions that I made early on in my life was I just wanted to be very, very good at things that were very, very hard. And if you think about it, I mean, that just makes a lot of sense from a competitive advantage perspective, from a professional development perspective. I mean, if you want to have long-lasting staying power in this world and you talk to a prospective employer, hey, I'm really good at licking envelopes. Wow, you and about 86 million other people next in line. Or you go up to somebody, hey, I'm awesome at sending emails. Nobody sends an email like me, brother. Again, you're in pretty good company there, but if you can go to a potential employer, if you can go to a potential business partner, if you can go to a potential client, hey, I'm really, really good at keynote speaking. Hey, I'm really, really good at cold calling. Hey, I'm really, really good at sales. To get really, really good at something that's really, really hard is not only positive from a professional development perspective, it gives you an immense competitive advantage over everybody else, because most people aren't going to tackle it precisely because it's hard.
Most people hate cold calling, though. Did you just train yourself to be good at it? That's why you like it? Or do you enjoy the prospect and then you decided to get good at it? Because most people, they're terrified of it. They don't even want to do any of it.
Yeah, well, a lot of it has to do with philosophy. And I know we're going to be talking about this in our event here in a couple of weeks. If you ask my wife, now it's interesting who you ask this question to, Mr. Miller, because if you ask my wife, she's just going to say, well, Paul loves the sound of his own voice. Of course, he'll talk as much as he can throughout the course of the day. There might be an iota of truth to that, but at least to answer your question, I'll stick to the politically correct way of answering that, is I love the challenge because I can't think of anything in life that's more difficult. I've got a short amount of time to reach out to an individual or an organization that really doesn't know me. We don't have a relationship. There's very little name recognition. And in a short amount of time, what I've got to do is I've got to try to pique their curiosity, create some urgency, offer them something of value, differentiate myself, make myself memorable, and do all of that in a manner that's non-salesy and non-self-incriminatory. Whew! Gosh, it's enough to make you start to sweat. But there's really, as I was kind of alluding to, there's really two types of people in this world. There's people that will only go up to the edge of their fear, and when they encounter something that's scary or something that is fearful for them, they'll recoil. Or there's people that are fueled by fear, that are fueled by going outside of their comfort zone, that are fueled by the opportunity to grow and try something tough. I'm in that latter category, and again, I know it plays to my skill sets. I'm an effective communicator. I like to talk. I think I can build relationships with people pretty efficiently. And it just so happens that that's something that's difficult for most people. When you combine both of them, for me, it was a match made in heaven, my friend.
So we're going to reserve some time for questions. If you want to ask something of Paul during our interview here, drop into the chat. JB will make a list and we'll get you on the air. Also, we're going to give away a copy of his book at the end of the show, which is really cool. And let's talk about the book. So you've been doing live training. You've got the online Cold Call University. Why the book? Why did you decide to take that on? Because that's a challenge unto itself.
It is. Well, one, I was told I should have done this years ago, and it's just one of those things with all the stuff that I've been involved in. I mean, who's got I barely have time to see my kids for 3 hours a day, let alone sit down and write a 180-page book. I mean, that just never really fit into the equation. So I kept putting it off. I kept putting it off. I kept putting it off. And, you know, one of the pieces of advice that I got from well-meaning individuals is, Paul, if you really want to be a speaker, you need this to establish that credibility. You really need this because without a book, it's kind of like, well, who's this guy? What did he ever accomplish? Well, there were two things with that. One, I wasn't a speaker per se. I was a cold call trainer. Although I'm speaking, I'm teaching you how to be a good cold caller. I'm putting on workshops. I'm working with small groups of individuals and organizations. But what started to happen just roughly 2 years ago is I would do an event. I would keynote an organization. I would headline a sales conference. And some people would say, you know what, Paul, you're a very dynamic speaker. You know what, you're really good up there on that stage, but I don't have a need for your cold call services. Do you speak on anything else? Well, one of my mottos in life is say yes to everything and figure out how to do it later. So sure, I speak. Of course. What do you speak on? Leadership, entrepreneurship, all these other things. Well, that forced me to put together keynotes. That forced me to put together speeches. Thankfully, when I was asked to do them, I was able to perform those at a high level. Well, now that I'm an international keynote speaker, I thought, okay, it's going to establish my credibility. It's going to give me, hopefully, the opportunity to get additional speaking gigs, which it has even at this early stage. So now I made it a priority, and I'm glad I did, because really, when you write a book, as weird as it sounds, I just thought, hey, people have seen me speak. That'll speak for itself. People have gone through my training. That'll give me the credibility that I need. That helps. But being a published author really does take you to an entirely new level.
If you have questions for Paul, drop them into the chat, and let's dig in a little bit on cold calling. Why is it so terrifying? Why are we so resistant to take it on?
Well, I think part of the reason that we're so resistant to take it on is nobody likes the word no. Nobody likes to get yelled at. Nobody likes to have their mom brought into a conversation from time to time. I mean, it can be a very scary situation. And if you think about what you're asked to do on a cold call under the stupid way of cold calling, it's pretty intense. Hey, Paul, I want you to randomly call these 75 organizations that you've never met. They have no idea who you are. There's no rapport established. They didn't invite you into this call. They're probably busy, right in the middle of something, by the way. And, they're probably mentally distracted, thinking about something else. I want you to invade their personal space like that, again, not announced, and over the course of a 2-minute time frame, I want you to qualify them as prospects. I want you to get to know them at a deep emotive level. I want you to know what makes them tick, and then I want you to sell them something. My goodness, could anything be harder than that? And plus, again, as humans, I don't care what well-meaning people tell you. When somebody says don't take it personally, they're not saying no to you. They're saying no to the offer. I'm the cold call coach. I still take it personally when people say no to me. Try telling me that when I just get hung up on, when it just took me 30 to 45 seconds to build up my nerve. I took a deep breath, in I go, and then I got yelled at. Nobody wants to get that kind of feedback. Nobody wants to have their time spent in an endeavor that is as fruitless as that. Real quick, Miller, you probably know this because you're a smart guy, but the nationwide cold call success rate in this country is 5.5%. Can you name me any other profession on planet Earth where a 5.5% cold call success rate is deemed good? Or so 5.5 success rate in anything is deemed good. Imagine if your doctor only got your diagnosis right 5.5% of the time. Imagine if your auto mechanic only fixed your car correctly 5.5% of the time. A lot of people would be fired and even probably put into jail for fraud. My clients have a cold call success rate over the course of 6 years of 36.4%, 5.5% to 36.4%. That's not a rounding error. That is a significant difference. Voicemail is even worse. The nationwide voicemail response rate is 0.7%. My clients right now are at 21.3%. There's a smarter way, there's a better way, there's a more efficient way, there's a more effective way, and it's a way that makes us feel better as people because it subscribes to best practices in human psychology, and that's the way I want to teach everybody.
It's interesting to hear you say that you still get nervous when you make cold calls. You still don't want to hear no. It's like jumping out of a plane for professionals is still scary. Stepping on the baseball field to bat is still nerve-wracking, even for professional athletes. But they're comforted by their repetition and they're comforted by their strategy and preparation. And when I've heard you talk on cold calling, you just have a completely different way about going about it. That's what I think is so interesting. You're not trying to Jedi mind trick someone into don't be scared. You're trying to arm them with what do they need to do. So what I find interesting, what can you share with us about how to get into a cold call? Because you do it completely differently as soon as the phone rings. It fascinates me.
Yeah, so there's just, again, without getting into all my secret sauce now, because I want you guys to tune into our upcoming conversation here, but there's a couple of best practices that I believe with respect to cold calling that are really in line with best practices in human psychology. Number one, people are not logical buyers. People are emotional buyers. So one of the things that we're trying to do on the cold call is we're trying to elicit an emotional response. Now, not anger, not frustration. That's an emotion we're definitely not trying to elicit. But, people use logic to justify an emotional response. When you look at how traditional cold calls are done, most people lead with their products, their services, their organization, numbers, metrics. I mean, they're trying to appeal to the logical brain when far and away people respond to the emotional brain, the emotional impulses. So what we do is we show our clients how to connect with their prospects at a deep emotive level very quickly. And it can be done it as simple as how you introduce yourself. Not so much what you say, but what you don't say. Which leads me to step number two. We're defensive cold callers. Now, I know sports has been kind of interrupted in this season of COVID-19 pandemic, but one of the things that I would say is if, let's say it's the Super Bowl. You're going down to Vegas, you're going to bet $1,000. You've got the AFC versus the NFC. I only give you one piece of information. That piece of information is this. That $1,000, you have to bet on one of the two teams. On one side, you've got the greatest offense in the NFL. On the other side, you've got the greatest defense in the NFL. Who are you going to bet on and why? Most people will say, well, I'm going to bet on the defense because it subscribes to that old adage, defense wins championships. Just like defense wins championships in football, just like good pitching beats good hitting in baseball, defensive cold calling will always beat offensive cold calling. A defensive cold call is what you don't say. An offensive cold call is what you say. An offensive cold call is what you put in. A defensive cold call is what you take out. So part of that is just us evaluating our script on how we can get as many appointments as possible, secure as much dedicated time as possible without virtually saying anything. Our scripts are only 20 seconds long. That's it. 20 seconds because we're efficient, we're effective, and we focus on defense. The very last thing I'll say because there's more. But in addition to hitting them at an emotive level rather than a logical level, in addition to playing good defense rather than good offense, the other thing that I truly believe, Patrick, is that people buy people first, not companies. And I think for the vast majority of people out there, they would agree with that. Well, of course people buy people first. What a silly question. Why would you even ask me that? But then if you listen to their cold call scripts, if you listen to what they're saying to their prospects in the first few seconds of the call, what are they doing? They're saying something like this. Hello, Patrick. My name is Paul Neuberger, founder of the Cold Call Coach. Just wanted to see if you're happy with your current cold call success rate. We've worked with business owners all across southeastern Wisconsin, really helping them transform their sales success, and I believe we can do the same for you. Fine, well and good, articulate, voice cadence, you can say whatever you want, but if people buy people first, who was I selling first in those first few seconds? I was selling my company first, my products first, my services first, and that's a disconnect a mile wide. So what we're very, very good at is taking these beliefs, taking these concepts that just about every salesperson understands already, reminding you of them, calling attention to them, and showing you how we can make sure to execute that on the cold call. And it's really a powerful thing when executed at a high level.
So what's in the book? We were talking about the defensive cold calling strategies. Are scripts in the book? If we pick up the book, are we going to learn the way to lay out what we need to know to improve our success rate?
Yeah, hence the reason the book is called The Secrets to Cold Call Success. Because what I didn't want to do is I did not want to insult my readers' intelligence. I didn't want to pique a lot of curiosity. I didn't want to get a lot of people interested. I didn't want to get them to go, hey, you know, this soundbite, this morsel sounds really good. Well, to hear the rest of it, you got to hire me. To hear the rest of it, hire me to be a speaker. I mean, if somebody wants to hire me to train their team or become a speaker, obviously I'm happy to do that. But all of the secrets are in the book. Not just philosophy, not just strategy, not just psychology, but a step-by-step roadmap on how to build a customized world-class cold call script from scratch. We call that script diagramming, because I believe rather than give a man or a woman a fish and feed him for a day, it's better to teach a man or a woman to fish and feed him for their lifetime. And that's what we do through the book. We walk you through with respect to the cold call. It's a proprietary 5-step process. These are the 5 parts of the script. These are the order. These are what each part is comprised of. This is how it's supposed to work. We give you concrete examples of each of the 5 parts. And once you've fully mastered that, once you have that down to a science, we take it to the next level. Then we show you how to do that for a voicemail. Then we show you how to do that for the gatekeeper. Because what good is a world-class cold call script if you just get nothing but voicemails? Again, my clients have a 23.1% voicemail response rate. We show you how to do that. Gatekeeper, great. Yeah, this cold call script is great, but I can't get past this pit bull of a gatekeeper. What am I supposed to do? Well, we have a script for that. Here you go. Plus, even if you get the person of interest, as we call it, the individual with whom you aspire to speak, what happens if they throw objections your way? What happens if they knock you off message? What happens if the call doesn't go according to plan? We have a 3-step process on how to overcome those objections with world-class rebuttals. I think we're not charging enough for the book. $14.99 for all of my secrets. Seems like I'm giving it away, but I think that's part of the reason why we've reached bestseller status in 7 different categories on Amazon. We hold nothing back, and everything is in there for you.
So Consuela's asking how we're going to win the book. We'll give that away at the end of the call. And we want to talk a little bit about our event on Tuesday, the 22nd. So you're going to do an event for us, the 3 philosophical pillars of cold call success. That's for the Brand Crafted group. And we just launched that today. So we're going to have an hour with you. What are you going to teach us in that event?
Oh, man, we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff. So when we talk about the 3 pillars of cold call success, the first pillar is strategy. The war on cold calling is literally won or lost before you ever pick up the phone. Cold calling is not a numbers game. If you have no idea what you're saying, it's a numbers game. If you're just randomly dialing for dollars, it's a numbers game. Also, cold calling is quality versus quantity. I mean, that's true for every walk in life. Who wants to go out and have a low-quality meal? Who wants to go watch a low-quality movie? Nobody does. So what we show you is we show you by how identifying your ideal client, you can get in front of who you want, when you want, for whatever reason you want, in only a fraction of the time. Another pillar to cold call success is psychology. So not our psychology so much, but the psychology of the prospect. Because again, this is another axiom I believe. People won't always remember what you said, but they'll never forget how they felt when you said it. how are we going to make them feel? What kinds of emotional responses are we going to elicit? And how are we going to give them an experience on a cold call? So I'll show you how to do that. And then last but not least, I'll give you a high-level overview to the aforementioned cold call script diagramming, which will give you a baseline of what to say when that person of interest picks up the phone. It's going to be really exciting stuff, if I do say so myself.
The event just went on sale today. Text the word school to
Why is
414.
Andy Wines shaking his head? I have no idea. Wines, what are you shaking your head for? This is what I'm looking for.
That's what he's always doing. What, Andy?
I'll jump in if you need a little color to go with it. So, full disclosure for all of you on the call, Paul M. Neuberger cold called me about a year and a half ago and said, "Hey, Andy, I have an idea, and I need you and like-minded people to bring it together." And I'm like, this guy is nuts. I've known him for a couple of years. I'll hear him out. He gave me his 20 seconds, and a year and a half later, we are very I'll say successful business partners because we have a lot of fun. So I get this every week from Paul. So it's interesting. He is this obnoxious in real life. He's this excited in real life. And he is this successful in real life. He's shooting these numbers. I was like, God, I hate how good he is at something that I don't like doing. And also in the head, I'm like, God, I got to buy that book for my salespeople. Why are my salespeople attending this? I should talk to Paul about setting up a time for my salespeople to sit down. Because all the things he's talking about are things I struggle with. So that's it. I'm appreciating, right, the art that is Paul M. Neuberger from a distance.
That's the Andy Wines endorsement. You can't pay for that. That's impressive. We got a couple questions, Paul, before we let you go. Mary Irish has a question. Mary, go ahead.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hello, Mary Irish.
I'm just wondering, what would you say was your worst cold call experience, and what can we learn from it to avoid that happening again? I don't like to cry, and I don't like to laugh if it's on me. So what did you have happen that might help us?
Sure. Well, yeah, just attend our session here in a couple of weeks, and I guarantee you're never going to have to worry about crying. Maybe tears of joy, Mary Irish, when you're booking so many appointments left and right, you don't know what to do with all of them. Because I've had some doozies, man. I know I dropped an F-bomb on one, and that's because I thought the call was over. And again, that just wasn't me being very professional. It was an F-bomb more towards myself than anything else. Like, what the was I thinking? And the guy was still on the line, so don't do that. But what I would probably say, because the first thought that came back to my mind when you asked that question, it takes me back to when I was a college student at Ripon College. I was a sophomore, so that would have been 2002, I believe, and that was the first year that I started at the Ripon College Student Phone-a-thon, which started my love of sales, which started my love of fundraising, which started my love of telemarketing, I guess you can call it in this regard. You can't see it because I got this big, humongous earpiece. My associate next door thinks I look like a fighter pilot. But anyway, at the end of the day, what I used to have a pierced ear. And I used to have like those really big Kevin Garnett diamonds, as gaudy as that probably is. Well, I showed up for my first night of cold calling, and I had my call sheets in front of me, and my first night asking for donations to the Ripon College Annual Fund was to a little old lady in Florida. And I remember just picking up the phone and dialing, and I was so petrified. I was so terrified that my hand was shaking, kind of like I had like Parkinson's really, really bad. And the interesting thing was, it's like, well, okay, as long as nobody sees this, that's fine. But the receiver kept clanking along my big diamond stud that I was wearing, and all you heard was clank, 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 clank. And everybody's looking around me like, what's with this guy? I mean, just totally set me in the wrong mind. I botched the call. I think I had to go to the bathroom for 20 minutes to get my composure. That was the worst call I've ever had. So I guess the lesson to learn is to be prepared, to know that you've got multiple ways in with respect to getting dedicated time, which we can always talk about, which I highlight in the book. But as long as you have a good strategy, you're practiced, you're rehearsed, and you've made peace with the strategy that you're going to employ, that should definitely ease those nerves, which will avoid an embarrassing situation like the one I found myself in.
All right, we got Light Brown. 2 more questions. We got to go fast on this. Susie Moon, what do you got?
So when you're leaving a voicemail message, is it the exact same script that you would use when you have somebody on the phone?
No, it is totally different. So quick hint, the cold call script is comprised of 5 parts, 6 sentences in a certain order. The voicemail script is only comprised of 3 of those parts, and it's only 3 sentences long. The order matters. What you keep matters, and what you take out also matters. So it is a different script. So is the gatekeeper. 3 different approaches, 3 different conversations, 3 different scripts.
Man, okay. That's awesome. All right, Wendy Frosto, you get the last word here. Question for Paul. Go ahead.
My question was very similar. I just wanted to know if it was, you start all your calls with the same script.
Yeah, I mean, how we begin each script is fairly similar. If a gatekeeper picks up, depending on how the gatekeeper greets himself or herself, I'm going to want you to follow a similar pattern. When the person of interest picks up, I want you to greet that person in a certain way. If you get the voicemail, I want you to start that conversation in a certain way. So all voicemails begin the same way, but they begin different than the cold call and different than the gatekeeper script. So that's in the book. That's the additional information that we cover in the training. 3 different scripts, 3 different formulas. They're slightly similar, but because we're hoping for different outcomes, we modify them all a little bit from each other.
Well, Paul, thanks for sharing all the information. We're looking forward to seeing you on September 22nd with the Brand Crafted Social Club. It's our night school. And if you want to get tickets for that, text the word school to 414-240-1315. It's only $20 to come. You're going to make way more with that just by learning from Paul for an hour. It's a total steal. And we're getting one more question that we need to get some information on. Who's behind you?
I just noticed that. I didn't know anybody was behind me. Why didn't you say something? For 30 minutes, I go on and on. No, of course I know who that is. So yeah, anybody that walks into my office thinks I've got a bit of an ego problem. So that's Paul Neuberger from college behind me. We're going to keep scrolling over here. There's Paul Neuberger wearing the cool heart suit over here as well. I had and Andy Wines was there, so he would know all about it. I had my birthday party roast because I've always wanted to get my 3 best friends just to pair me a new one for 45 minutes. Somebody made that for me, and that's just too handsome to throw away. So I take that with me wherever I go.
Well, I followed his strategy. As you can see, I double as a superhero.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, well, Paul.
Well done, Andy.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show, Paul. Thanks. And we look forward to giving away a copy of the book. And we will see you on September 22nd, my friend. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Pat. Thanks, everybody. Good to talk to you.
All right, let's pivot, shall we? Which causes us all to drink, of course. And now we're going into the second half of the call, the Small Business Rally Point Roundtable. And on the roundtable, we bring up a topic and then we just kick it around. But today's a little bit different because to be honest, I was reading too much Twitter over the weekend. I'm just like, God, the world sucks. Like everything sucks. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on, it just sucks. And I'm like, I need some positivity in my life. So I came up with this question idea today, which I thought it could be really fun. So the question is for the roundtable, where is it? What we want to know. We talk about our marketing, right? But we all have blind spots. So what is a positive blind spot that this person has that they could incorporate in their marketing? Because we all talk about what we do, but as we've been talking about, know, like, and trust. Who are we? So we've been asking for someone to volunteer, and Consuela was right there. So Consuela, being the courage, helping people with their courage, I'm impressed that you stepped up as well. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So tell everyone what you do so they know what you do, and talk about what you do so everyone knows what you sell.
What I sell? Oh my gosh, now I feel like a cold call just got thrown at me.
That's right. Go.
So how am I going to do this? So I'm Consuela, confidence coach. So I really help professional women find their voice so they can own their confidence and then own the room. So that's what I do. When I seen this question, the first thing that came to my head was what if your side mirrors are broken? It's really hard to see your blind spots. I think it's hard to, it's in your blind spot, so it's harder to see what it is. And I know last week you were talking about having that business BFF, and I think this is where a business BFF would really come in handy to help you figure out where those blind spots are. But as far as me, I think I talk a lot about helping people find their voice and be confident, but one of the things I don't talk a lot about is how I can convince people to get going, to get started, to take that next action, whether it's a small action towards their bigger plan or it's a big crazy action. So I don't think I talk about that much.
So maybe there's something in your personality that maybe you don't recognize that others appreciate. That's the spirit of what we're talking about today. And Roger jumped right up. So Roger, what's a positive attribute about Consuela that she could use in her marketing?
Oh, Consuela, you know how to tell people their strengths to make them feel amazing. And I think if you want people to take action, then I think you just talk to them about a couple of their strengths and they'll start executing.
Okay.
Good. Thanks, Roger. Appreciate it. So how are you doing with the confidence coaching, Consuela? And how are you doing on where you're going with the company?
I think I'm doing well. I'm getting close to launching everything. The new website's almost ready. The branding is almost here. Changed up with the events. As many of you on here know, I've been to a lot of the idea slams and sketchies, and so every time I come away with new things I want to add in and tweak in, but I think I'm almost ready to just really get it out there. So this cold call comes in really handy and looking at it in a different way and starting to have a different strategy when I'm starting with this new branding. So I'm pretty excited about where it is.
That's great. Michael has something to add for Consuela. Michael, what's a positive attribute of Consuela that she should be talking about?
Yeah, it has to be positive, Michael.
It has to be positive.
I understand the framework. And I would have nothing but positive things to say. Consuela, I know you have this, and I don't believe you sell it often enough and strong enough, and that's the long-term implications of what you do for people. You're great at talking about the services you provide, the tactical deliverables, features and benefits. I don't believe you sell strongly enough the long-term value of discovering one's strengths and how that isn't a short-term thing, that is a long-term, keeps paying back kind of investment. I don't think you sell that often enough and strong enough. And when you do, I think that your value goes up. And as the business coach, so therefore it also does your ability to charge what you're worth. I don't think you charge what you're worth.
Mm-hmm. That's a great one. Van, you say that you have one for Consuela? Go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned the rearview mirror and the blind spot. So many of us get caught up in talking to people who love us and support whatever we do. And you are a mirror. You have the ability as a third party to really affect and impact somebody that you don't necessarily have that long-standing relationship with. So you're like a truth mirror, if you will, and it's a very powerful place to be.
Cool.
That's great, Van. Thank you. Lisa, you get the last word. Tell us something about Consuela that she could use in her marketing that's a positive attribute.
I just met her last week. Actually, we had what was supposed to be an hour conversation. I think we set it to be more like 2 hours. Anyway, what I loved about her is that she tells the truth in a way that it doesn't sound like she's in your face. It's like, this is what it is, and this is how your strengths tie together. And I have done strengths finders for people, and she made me think about it in a way that I've never looked at my own strengths before. And it's a way of tying together your strengths to go, you're right. And sometimes it's not even about like the success you have in business, but like the success you have in personal relationships. And so it's not just about how do I succeed in business, but how do I succeed in interpersonal relationships as well.
That's great. Lisa, thank you. Van, thank you. Everyone that jumped in, thank you for that. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to move this into it. Yes, Consuela, you're amazing. Of course, we know that. And you make hella good cookies, by the way. That's the one positive thing you don't market enough is your cookie baking talent, because it's next level stuff. All right, so here's what we're going to
include that in the workshop.
What's that?
So also included in the workshop price. If in person, you will get cookies.
Well, you need to talk about that more often. All right, so here we go. We've got some other folks that want to get in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go fast because we've got like 15 minutes left. And we've got some other people we want to feature. So let's bring on Lynn Karazi, the data magician. He's next. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go fast. So if you just want to jump in, unmute and jump in. Don't even jump in the chat. Lynn Karazi, the data magician. Lynn, tell everyone what you do real quick so we all know.
As Paul said, Pat said, I am the data magician. I basically take companies' messy data, work my magic with it, and deliver them back more insights that are going to make them more money. And it's really working with the organization, all the information they have available to them that's lying buried in different systems that they haven't yet developed a capability to help them better understand the truth about their sales, their profits, and the hidden costs of their data.
Okay. Ready, set, go. Who's got something that Lynn can add into his marketing that's a positive attribute he might not realize or talk about enough?
It's not just about the data, it's about the space between the data. I think, Lynn, you see the things that aren't even that, right? You not only do you know what's in the data, but you see what's not in the data, and you can tell a story from open space. And I think that's part of the magic.
Very good. JB, go ahead.
Mind your head again, JB.
A little bit. We were on the same Z's, but I was going to add that he keeps it simple because data can feel really overwhelming and complex, and Lynn can just streamline through the BS and simplify to help us leverage it.
So would a keyword be bridging? Bridging spaces?
Does that?
I was thinking translating.
Simplify, bridge, making bridging, bring it between people. And bridging is a computer word, so that would definitely tie into to your thing of data, pulling data from your computers. You're bridging people together.
That's great. Consuelo, what did you say? We didn't hear you.
I was saying translating. To me, anytime a language is complex, it's harder to learn. So when someone can come in and help you translate and tell you in words that you understand, then it's much better.
Okay. All right. One more thought for Lynn before we move on. We got a long list of people we want to talk about. Who's got final thoughts?
Thank you.
Well, I think the thing that didn't get mentioned, Lynn, is that your personality, you're not a data guy, like you're a data guy, but you don't act like a data guy. A lot of data guys are robots, and you're not a robot. You have a really warm, funny personality. And it's definitely something that's unique. So it's something that I know we've talked off the air about, but it's something that you can definitely touch on. All right, let's move on. So Lynn, you're awesome. # you're awesome. Let's go to Lisa, Rebel Girl Marketing. Folks that know Lisa, let's learn about Lisa's positive blind spots. So Lisa, tell everyone what you do again before we jump in.
I help small businesses with the marketing because they can't afford somebody on premise or they need help with projects. The small businesses are a completely untapped market for marketing consultants to come in and help just for a short period of time instead of having somebody on staff. So, anything marketing.
Well, I know a lot of people here have worked with you as well and know you. So let's talk about Lisa's positive blind spots, things that she doesn't mention that she should mention.
I think speaking of bridging, she bridges strategy to really just the practicality of it. Like, here's the insight and here's what that means. Sometimes I only get one or the other. And I think that Lisa does a great job of including both and making both of those easy to access for whoever she's working with.
That's good. That's a good point.
Lisa,
go ahead.
Lisa does a great job of helping us promote ourselves.
What do you mean by that? Talk more about that.
She hosts workshops to help us. She's hosted workshops to help us do our 30-second, to help us find our ideal clients, to help us present ourselves in our best light.
That's good. That's good. And you touched on the workshops. I think, Lisa, you're an excellent teacher. Do you talk about that very much? You're a good speaker, but a really good teacher, because like you can talk about things that people don't understand and make them really simple for people to understand. So yeah, you do the stuff as well, but you're really good at explaining it. I was very impressed by the workshop that I attended. So I think that's something you could definitely harp on even more than you do, because it's really good.
Okay, thank you.
Other thoughts for Lisa?
I was just going to say the exact same thing, that in my experience with Lisa, she makes it simple and says it in a way that resonates to the point where you made it so simple. How can I not? So
that's right. So why can't I? Right. Very good. All right, Lisa, thanks for hopping on and thanks for being here. It's great to see you again. Let's bring on Megan McRae. So we got time for maybe one or two more before we got to go. And so Megan McRae, it's good to see you again, my dear. Tell me, what have you been up to lately? Because I know a lot is changing in your world.
Yeah, I'm the owner of Sidekick Accounting Services, but I'm also launching a new business group that's called Your Accounting Sidekick, and it's going to be for small business, solopreneurs, individual contractors, the people that usually can't pay for a bookkeeper. This is going to be the support and resource that they need to grow successful and profitable businesses. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So we'll start there about cool things that you're doing, is seeing an opportunity and trying to fill it. So how is that group going to work? So give us the commercial. Like, we want to know.
So it's gonna be all free. Okay. So that's the part I'm still working on. But basically, it's going to be all free content for the month of September. And then starting October 1st, there'll be a membership opportunity so that you can have ongoing support and access to an accountant for a small fee every month. So
that's great.
Needs work.
Get the help that you need, but not pay for everything, right? Just get the little bit that you need. So like maybe do it with me rather than do it for me.
Yep, and there'll be opportunities for Q&A sessions. I'll have a live Q&A session every week. And then I think I'm gonna do like a quarterly reconciliation and reports party. So we'll sit down and reconcile the books all together and go through the numbers. I know, right? Party? That's numbers. Right. Nobody likes doing it, but it's really important. So trying to make it fun.
So thoughts about, if anyone has worked with Megan, thoughts about working or getting to know Megan that she might be able to use in her marketing or persona, or some thoughts on what she just talked about with the small business opportunity and the group.
So Megan, I've known Megan for a few years, and the words that come to mind when I think of her are resilient, generous. She has made enormous changes to be a good mom while running a business, and she's been a part of many underserved communities. She's a huge educator with WIBIC, and so like when I think of generosity, I mean it's huge. So I don't know, I was actually getting a little bit heartfelt on that, so I'm gonna just take a moment. I really honor and respect what you've done with your business over these years. And I know that you have some good resources around you, but I know that you've really bootstrapped as well. And I admire you.
Thanks so much. I admire you too.
That's great. That's great. Susie, you were having something that you wanted to add about Megan?
Yeah, I've worked with Megan a little bit, and she's just always positive. I never have heard her say a negative thing. Like, she's just always upbeat and ready to tackle whatever, and just super easy to work with. So thank you for all you do, Megan.
Thanks, Susie.
That's
great. And I'd like to say I've worked with Megan too, and I'm so thrilled that you're taking that love you have for educating others with this new venture. I think it's really exciting, and it's going to be so fulfilling for you, I think, but it's going to serve so many people in a great way. Go for it. It sounds awesome.
Go do
Thanks,
it.
Liz.
That's awesome. And great feedback, everybody. And that's what we're trying to do today, is to point out some of the things that maybe someone doesn't appreciate as much as they should. And it sounds like there's a lot of love. We've got time for one more. We had a couple more folks that wanted to do it, and I'm just out of time. But Dan, we're going to put you on the spot. So Dan, tell us about the business and what you do, and then we're going to share some things that we know about you and what you do.
Well, this is a bit of a surprise. You probably don't know enough about me to tell me anything about my blind spots, but I'm working on helping individuals and businesses keep more of the money that they earn, since we all work too hard for it.
Yeah.
So I help businesses find unclaimed tax incentives, help individuals get free from debt in a much shorter period of time than normal, and partner with a lot of the best companies to find the best services to do that.
That's great. So how long have you been doing it, Dan?
Really just getting started with it this year. I've been connected with some of the businesses for a couple of years, but just exited another business last fall. So I've just been shifting gears this year, and it's been quite a paradigm shift. I've gone from 25 years of engineering, software, and systems to financial services. So it's been a challenging shift.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael's got something. Michael, go ahead.
Dan doesn't do financial planning for financial planning's sake. Dan does financial planning for the sake of why it matters to the person he's doing it for, and his ability to understand that informs his financial plan and makes it that much better. It's that much more tailored, because I don't think Dan is, I don't know how he does it, but he's not about the numbers first. He's about the people first. And because of that, the numbers are that much better, because he's understanding the people he's working with, what their goals and their bigger aspirations are, and his ability to understand that vision and translate that into a plan that people can follow and benefit from. I mean, it's such a counterintuitive way to approach his work, and the results, I think, speak for themselves.
That's great. That's a great one. So Dan, how do you go about doing that? How do you think about people first rather than numbers first? Does that just come to you naturally?
I guess it's a natural instinct, but not a natural skill. So I'm developing the skills on how to bring that out of people. I guess hoping to read Paul's book here. I do have that book, so I think that'll help me make the connection with people and find out what their needs are. So yeah, it's getting into finding out people's whys, what they're trying to protect against and plan for in the future, and find a solution that fits.
Yeah, there's some great ideas in the chat here. You want to dig through. People are sharing some thoughts on how you might be able to express it. I think it's fantastic. Sam, you were talking about it real quick. Do you mind jumping on real quick and tell us what you were going to say?
Yeah, based on what you introduced, I was going to say you can call yourself treasure guide, helping people find buried treasure, find the finding money that they may not know is available to them, or finding money which is lost for them to keep it. So you're finding financial treasure.
That's right. That's right. Very good. Well, Dan, we're excited to get to know you better. We're glad that you're in the Idea Collective, so make sure you jump into the Idea Slams with us, and we can work on some of these fun ideas. And thank you, Sam, for that, and Michael for the feedback. And the way that I figured is like, we wanted to spread some good vibes. There are things that are happening around us that aren't good, but there are things that we need to hear and like good attributes that we might ignore, because I'm sure if we brought Lisa on, she'd agree with this. It's easy for us to talk about the stuff that we do, but as Paul reminded us, know, like, and trust is so important. We're often selling ourselves first. So if we're ignoring one of our positive strengths, then we're selling ourselves short. All right, we got some homework we need to do, including giving away the copy of Paul's book, and we've identified a winner. We'll bring JB on in just a second for that. But Paul's event with us with Brand Crafted, it's called Brand Crafted Night School, 3 Philosophical Pillars of Cold Call Success with Paul. Tickets are on sale for that right now inside the Brand Crafted group, or you can text the word school to 414-240-1315. That's school to 414-240-1315. It's only $20. And his seminars go for way more than that. It's going to be a really good night. The other thing that we have tonight, we've got a cool event that I just thought I'd do on a whim. 6:30 tonight, we're going to do an event about building better events, because right now we're all living in a virtual event world. And I want to get everyone around the round table and just guide a discussion of what have we seen that works? What have we seen that doesn't work? And I want to hear how we can Frankenstein an even better event. So tonight is a workshop and a brainstorm, and I'd love to have you be a part of it. And I'm super excited because you get to meet someone that I know that maybe you don't. One of our Idea Collective members, her name is Bron Watson. She lives in Australia. She's the eWomen Network International Director, and she's a social media queen. And she's going to join us. It's 9:30 Tuesday her time, 6:30 p.m. our time. She's going to come on and talk with us as well. So it's a brainstorm tonight. Also, we've got on Friday, the Brand Crafted Buzz Coffees are back. The first Friday all throughout the fall and the winter. We're going to get together. It's a free event. Just get together and network with one another, because it's just been far too long since we've done that. All right. With all of that, JB, you did the hard work. You drew the random number from all the guests that were in the house. Who won Paul's book? And the winner is...
Seriously, you've just muted me. Greg Studer.
Greg, congratulations, my friend. See, look, you come for the first time, and there you go. You win some stuff, which is amazing. Congratulations. Hang on the call after the thing. Actually, if you wouldn't mind dropping your email address into the chat, JB will pick it up there, and we'll hook you up with a copy of Paul's book. So, yeah, it's going to be another great week. And thank you all for coming on and joining us and feeling this small business energy that we try and bring during the Small Business Rally Point. It happens every Monday at 3 o'clock. Text the word biz to the number. You'll get on the VIP distribution list. And that way you can join us and talk small business every Monday. So with that, thanks to JB, the showrunner. Thank you to Michael Rampolla for supporting her. Paul M. Neuberger for being our guests. All the folks that were brave enough to put themselves out there and get feedback in front of the crowd. It was fun. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. We'll see you next time.